Good morning and welcome to a windy Combe. Now, the weather today doesn't look especially great, so that's kind of in the back of my mind as we enter this day. Bank holiday Monday here in the UK, but we're back at Combe. The track I do hopefully know a bit better than the rest, so the idea is to go out there and do some racing. Now, I was planning to do two events today, but because of the weather and the potential that it's not going to be very good later on, I decided to skip out the second event. So I'm only doing one race and one qualifying session today. You can probably tell it's quite windy. Hopefully you can still hear me all right. But yeah, we're back here at a circuit I do know, so with the brakes being fixed, a little bit more confident, and really just hoping for a solid weekend. I thought last time out at Lydden was quite good, a nice step forward. Felt just generally comfortable. And we've got Christian here today, which is exciting because we're going to be racing together later on this year. He's a mechanic at Jaguar, so he knows his stuff, the Formula E team. And he races a Honda Civic as well. Quite exciting to have his knowledge on board this weekend, and hopefully he's going to help us find a bit of time as well, which would be quite cool. But nonetheless, only one qualifying session and one race, so probably the quietest day we've had so far before the weather intervenes later. We'll see what happens, but qualifying's up first, and need to get out there, set a decent lap time, and hopefully not be last on the grid. So, Combe. Apart from Lydden Hill that we did a few weeks before this, it's the only track I've actually raced at. So definitely should have more experience here than any other, or at least feel more suited to the car, the track. But I don't know, for some reason it's a pretty tricky track, even though there's not a lot of corners. I guess it's just quite quick. A lot of people say it's quite hard to learn, and it's very unique in a lot of ways. So not all traits that I can learn from Brands Hatch, Lydden Hill, etc., they can't all correlate particularly well to Combe. But nonetheless, we put the car onto the trailer with its wet tyres. It's easier to load it on and off with them, and we swapped them over. Christian did some tyre pressures, cleaned the windscreen, all the simple stuff, and then we got ready for qualifying earlier on the day. It's clouding over, wasn't raining, but there was definitely a threat of it in the air. So into qualifying here at Combe. So immediately as I came out of the pits, a few things didn't feel quite right. You can see straight away that just driving in a straight line, the steering wheel is put off quite a bit. It's sort of having to hold it down to the right a little bit when we go into a straight line. I mean, it's sometimes quite hard to turn a race car because you're sort of always turning, always adjusting stuff. But I was struggling with that a little bit, not being quite on centre with something. And just a few other things as well. I mean, I think the car was just a little bit too stiff for me in qualifying, which is something that I was struggling with a little bit. You've seen in the last video I did around Combe, I had that little bounce due to the car being possibly a little bit too stiff. I'm not 100% sure whether we changed anything to do with the stiffness after this going into the race. We were messing around with tyre pressure a little bit, which is why in a second here you'll see me pull into the pit lane halfway through this session. Something I haven't done in these Combe qualifying sessions because they're really short. I think, what are they, like 15 minutes long, I think, possibly 12 minutes long, something like that. You don't get much time. So I came into the pits, we had put the tyre pressures down quite a lot because we were getting quite a bit of overheating in the previous rounds, but it was kind of feeling alright. So what we decided to do here, with Christian on board, he decided to put the tyre pressure down quite significantly, and I think in the pits we put them up a little bit, or maybe we put them up after the session. I'm not 100% sure, but nonetheless, this was my best lap, and it's a really annoying one to look back at here because it is just so scruffy. Very annoyed at myself after the session because just looking at this lap, it was just all over the place. I should be doing better by now, but I just think in this moment, I was just not feeling particularly confident, which was kind of strange because the previous few weekends before this, as I said, Lydden Hill was a nice motivation, a good boost in the right direction in this car, kind of feeling like we're getting there in a few areas, or at least improving it. I mean, the car's really decent as a base, a solid base, but for whatever reason, maybe just lacking a little bit of confidence coming into this one. after the qualifying session. You can see here just little things like not timing the gear shifts right, hitting the rev limiter. It's a not very good lap at all. And before this, I was last in our class, so coming up to the final corner, I was determined to just, okay, do more than you've done so far. But still, it's all very, very calm. Just not really going anywhere near the limit. I think I can see myself sort of shaking my head a little bit here. Bit of anger. The old hand waving. Embarrassing looking back at it. But nonetheless, it wasn't a particularly good lap. I think it was about a second and a half slower than I've gone so far, quickest so far, like than I did last time with the dodgy brakes in qualifying. It's like a second and a half off that, so I think that just sort of shows there that the confidence wasn't quite there, which is, I guess, fair enough sometimes. Sometimes things happen, sometimes the confidence isn't there. But nonetheless, after qualifying, I was second of the 3 people in my class, so you know that wasn't too bad, I thought. Adam was quite a bit ahead in terms of how close our class was. He had a decent margin, and then Corey was quite close behind me, so quite excited to see how we'd go after this one, because in the race Corey's going to have more experience. He's probably going to be quicker than me. Adam is quite a veteran around here at Combe. He knows what he's doing, so it's going to be interesting to see what happened. But anyway, I'll let you hear my debrief after this first session of the day. So, qualifying over here at Combe. Now, I was hoping to be a bit upbeat about this, but unfortunately that didn't really go to plan. I got one quicker lap time in at the end, but it wasn't an especially good session for me. Multiple reasons. The tracking is quite bad, so we're going to be sorting that out soon. Christian thankfully knows all this stuff and he's got the same car, so we're going to get that sort of pointed in the right direction, which is going to be really helpful. And then just driving in general, just drove really badly. Some terrible lines in there. Like, I should know this track. I've driven it more than any other, and that's just disappointed in myself to put together such a bad session. But nonetheless, the weather looks like it's turning. It should be raining now, but I don't know whether that means it's going to pass us. We might not get any rain at all. I don't really know at this stage. We'll obviously see in a minute what happens, but yeah, a bit sceptical about the conditions and what comes up. Touch wood, we're going to be all right, but I haven't driven this car in the rain, so I obviously a little bit just dubious about what the differences will be. But you know, Christian's going to be a big help today in making sure that the car's set up all good for qualifying, and that we're feeling confident as we go into the race. So could be wet tyres for the first time, or we might stay on the dries. We'll see how it goes, but nonetheless I'm excited. We've got a few people in my class, which is cool as well, including Adam in his Clio, which is on the pole in class, which is cool. I start second in class, but it's not really why I'm here. I'm here to try and just get better, and that lap time was not getting better. It's like, I don't know what we're looking at, like probably nearly 2 seconds off what I'd done before. So yeah, a bit disappointed in myself there. Let's see how the race goes. Something I've always enjoyed about Combe since racing here, since the start of last year. I mean, to be perfectly honest, before that I wasn't really too aware of the circuit. I mean, I knew it existed as a name, but I really wasn't sure what it was like to drive, and I hadn't really seen much footage from it in the past. But getting there, being a part of their events, a really fantastic atmosphere, great people that you can go around and just get information from and just understand about how to, you know, make your car a little bit quicker and just generally talk racing. And also the staff at Combe have been always fantastic to us. They've helped us out a lot. We've been able to do some cool work for them as well. So yeah, very much appreciative of what they've done for us, and it's just been a great atmosphere. And I'll show you some footage we shot over this weekend, or I should say John shot out around the track. suitably epic music to transition here to us working, I say us, mostly Christian, working on the car ready for race one of one, because there's only one this weekend, no double header, which I guess is sometimes a blessing considering the rain was coming later on in the day. Some improvisation tactics going on there, but like you saw earlier on in the year when we were at Combe doing some testing, we did some of this, similar work. Mike obviously did that back then. He's got his experience, Kristen's got his experience, so between the two of them it's really good to understand maybe the slightly different ways of working and different ways that we can possibly go about making this car a little bit quicker through setup. So we're just getting the toe of the wheels in the right place so that there's less of steering one hand down a straight. So Kristen did a really nice job there, got the car pointing in the right direction. There's still a bit of work to do on one of the, actually I think both of the rear toe elements probably needed a bit of WD-40 or maybe even something more aggressive than that to get them nudging. So I don't think we actually did any toe work on the back, and that was slightly out. So that's something to note for myself going into this race, that the back end might feel a little bit weird because it's not quite set up right, because we didn't really have the right tools and the facilities to do that. So here we go, warm-up lap time. And as you'll remember from the previous events, we go into a rolling start, the only traditional series here at Combe between the four that they run to have rolling starts, which is actually quite a big reason why I favour it, because I sort of prefer doing them. Not that I'm any good at them, any better at them. I just like doing the rolling start a little bit more. Now, annoyingly, this camera right here, we got some footage early on, but unfortunately either the memory card was full or something. It just sort of stopped very early on in the race, which is a big shame because I quite like that camera angle. I think it's quite cool and a bit unique. But unfortunately we didn't get much of an angle from that for a lot of this race, which is a shame. Now you can see here the field's been quite spread out, and it looks like the front guys have already gone. So we've just come out the chicane and we've basically got to go flat out, or as close to flat out as you're willing to go on cold tyres. So that was a little bit of a shame for me personally at the back of the grid, but obviously it's the guy at the front that gets to decide the pace, and I just maybe should have been a bit closer to the grey Golf in front of me. I should have been as close as possible to him through the chicane, but I just left too much of a gap. It's just one of my ways, just being a bit too cautious. But nonetheless, down to the first proper braking zone here, and you can see there's a Ginetta unfortunately off in the barriers. I think very luckily he only tapped it very lightly from what I remember, so he managed to get going again. He spun his car around and he actually managed to blast through the field and put some fantastic lap times in, which is obviously really good for him, because you never want to see someone have a mistake on the first corner and that cost them for the rest of the race. It's always really nice to see someone be able to get out of it, and I think that is a high speed part of the track there, but thankfully for him everything was alright and he managed to get out of there. So you can see here just in front of us, I guess we should introduce Adam. You can see in his Clio. You didn't really see him much in qualifying, maybe some of the slow motion footage, but he's the guy we're chasing down for our class lead here. We've got a Golf just in front of him, which isn't really that much faster. You can see they're running a bit wide. I was a bit annoyed at myself for that. Just, I don't know, taking a bit too much speed into the corner. I don't know, just completely messing it up. You can see I'm defending this final corner here from Corey. You can't see because I've got a rear view sort of camera, but he was right behind me at this point. I thought I had to defend at this point so he wouldn't get past. Now, strangely enough, Adam's Clio has got more horsepower in front of me here. I'm not sure about Corey's behind, but yeah, Adam's car in front has, I don't remember how much more horsepower, about 30 or 40 more horsepower than mine, which is quite interesting. He's done some remapping over the winter, so it's nice to see that car going even quicker this year. I think he's had quite a bit of time off, if I remember correctly, so, in terms of months, he's had probably about half a year off. So I've probably got a little bit more recent experience in my car, so that's hopefully going to play into my favour here. You can see, unfortunately, I think that's the black Mitsubishi having an issue on lap number 2 here, which is a big shame. That car is absolutely awesome. If you ever get to Combe and get to the paddock when they eventually open, go and have a look at that black Mitsubishi. I think is it Bradley John, I think, who drives that car, but it's an absolutely lovely car. It's insane. It's like a different level to pretty much all the other Mitsubishis I've ever seen at a racetrack. But nonetheless, through all of that, maybe a bit of a cleaner second lap, we managed to close a little bit, on Adam in front of us here. I feel like a pretty good second lap there. I'm never really good at the start of these races, which is something I really want to work on, because of course it's a position in the race where you can gain a lot of time through just driving normally, but for whatever reason I just maybe am a bit cautious on the colder tyres, and it's something I definitely want to improve on. In the first lap and a half, I was a little bit worried because I thought that I was just getting completely demolished at this point. I just saw that Adam was sort of driving off into the distance, and I had no pace in that first sort of lap and a half, and I was a bit worried in myself about what was going to happen here, because I want to be in a battle with these guys, because I'm obviously in their same class. I mean, I definitely don't expect to win, even finish second. I just wanted to be in a clean, fair battle with them. And having chatted to them, I think after qualifying, maybe even before the qualifying and after qualifying, two great guys, and hopefully going to get to race with them at some point again this season. And I wanted to be in a battle with them, so when I saw myself falling back I was a bit disappointed, but then kept my head together and eventually managed to start closing in on Adam, go to the outside tier of Quarry. Not really an overtaking opportunity unless you've got a lot more downforce. I thought possibly a switchback could be on, and I do get a good run out of here, to be fair. If anything, I have the corner going to here, but you can hear there's a lot of marbles and stuff being kicked up because that is completely offline there. So I thought just back it down there, Alex. We're right at the start of this race. It seems to be pretty equal between the three of us, so I don't need to do anything silly this early on. And you can see I back off here because I see in my mirror, I think it's the Reginetta. Yes, it is. So that's blasting through the field. And you can see in my mirror, oh, look at that, Corey sneaking out the inside. So I did actually see him at the corner of my eye. I was like, okay, I'm not going to close the door here. I already got quite close to Adam a few corners before in the chicane, going for a move. But I decided, no, don't do things here now, Alex. Just try and get around here and follow Corey, because he was very quick early on as well. So I thought maybe just see what lines he's doing. You know, it's a short race, but as they always say, it's a long race. You can, you know, you don't have to all try and go for it on the first 2 or 3 laps. You know, I'm slowly learning these things. Skipping ahead a couple of laps, and there goes Ollie Ball lapping us for the first time in this race. But you can see the gaps have kind of opened up a little bit here. So Adam's got a couple of seconds on Corey, and maybe second behind Corey. I don't know, it's hard to tell exactly what the gaps will be here, but I think Ollie Ball getting past Adam through that part there possibly slowed him down a tad. So possibly Corey and I have got a better run through the sequence of corners here. So for me at least, it looked like Corey was doing a really good job. He was really on speed and just managing to match Adam, if not be a bit quicker through certain sections. So I could say I was sort of staying here. I mean, I felt like I had a bit more top end than these guys. I definitely wasn't as good on the brakes. Through the corners, it was very much dependent on which one. You can see there, maybe a little bit better on the brakes to certain ones. I don't know what I'm saying obviously here, but it's closing up between us 3 at this point here. You can see the gap about half a lap ago was probably about 2.5 seconds between us, and now it's down to maybe a second and a half over 3 cars. And it looks like Corey's really on for a move here, right up behind Adam. He's putting that pressure on. Is he going to look to the inside here? It's tight, quite a tight part of this track. Is he going to go for it? Quite brave if so. Not quite. They're running under the same team, and I think they know each other quite well. So I always expected some nice, clean, fair racing with them too, because of course they want to keep their equipment clean as well. So there we are. Not so good run through the chicane once again. Possibly eyes drawn to my mirrors, and look at this
I don't know whether it's actually a Caterham, but I'm just going to call it a Caterham. Just goes through the middle there. Corey a bit later on the brakes around the outside. And now Adam, unfortunately for him, doesn't get a particularly good run through there. I hit the rev limiter, pulling a gear out of the final corner, but I think the Caterham compromised Adam's line quite a bit through here. And I'm just going to let you watch this next couple of corners. Well, I didn't expect that. Corey got sideways, I think twice in there. It snapped on him twice. I managed to get the move done on Adam. Then he got back past me in the corner after. But this time, or maybe one of the tightest parts of the track, I pulled to the inside after a better run through the corner before. I'm slightly earlier on the brakes. Just want to be cautious. I really don't want to do anything too silly here. I think I eye that blue flag here, and then being on the inside into this part of the track, not ideal, not really the racing line, but I just have to commit to it at this point. I'm so far alongside, if not a little bit ahead, and I pull to the left hand side here, and I think a car comes flying past there. You can see they are definitely quicker in a straight line than us. That was the big thing. They're obviously quicker than through the corners than us, but look at that. There's not much difference through the corners in comparison to my car, so that's not where I'm losing a lot of the time. A lot of it, as you can see in the straight line, that is where we're losing so many seconds to the faster cars. So I guess that's kind of a reassuring thing, but also I do realise at the same time, part of the slow driving is definitely me. But that last lap, what a whirlwind. At this part of the track, one lap ago, we had Corey sideways? I suppose it's kind of a word. Pointing at a pretty big angle right in front of us. Somehow both myself and Adam avoided it. And then into this part of the track here, we were close. Gave Adam the gap and let him go through. I just wanted to get through those clean. And then up through here, managing to get alongside Adam and into the class lead. And then as soon as I got into this class lead, I was like, okay, give myself 2 or 3 really strong laps. Do my best here to try and pull a margin. And I'm not going to show you all of the laps here because a lot of them are very similar, but I was just making sure that I was putting in some consistent lap times here, and it was working because I saw my rear view mirror. Adam, he was still down very quickly, but I was managing to pull maybe a couple of tenths on him here. So at this point I was quite happy with myself. Things were going kind of how I wanted to. But the whole race wasn't quite like that. So at this point, there was only a few laps to go. I had pulled out a decent gap. I don't know how much it went out to, I really would like to know, but I think it was sort of maybe 2.5-3 seconds. I don't know how it happened like that. I think I spoke to Adam afterwards and he said he just struggled with the tyres quite early on in the race. So it might show the reason why he managed to drop back a little bit, but then, as I was going to say, he came back at me quite a lot in the last sort of 2 or 3, 4 laps. I really saw his that silver Clio getting larger in my rear view mirror. And, to be perfectly honest, once I saw him get that close, I thought, okay, I think it's quite inevitable at this point. He's close enough, he's going to get this overtake done. But as we transitioned to the last lap of this race, that wasn't the case. And for whatever reason, somehow, I don't know what got in me, but on this last lap of the race was my fastest lap of the race. I guess possibly the pressure. Seeing Adam in the mirror, I was like, okay, I've got to push now. This is it. If I want to try and win my class here, I want to try and, we're going to have to push out a little bit extra on this last lap of the race. But still, it wasn't a particularly good lap. I can say that for sure. It's still about a second off what I know I can do in this car, but I think it was actually quicker than qualifying. But it's just funny that it came on the last lap of this race. But overall, I was happy, as you're about to hear. Sometimes things just mean a lot, and that moment was one of them. Didn't really know how to react. You saw the weird hand movements as I was going across the line, sort of hitting my chest and stuff like that. I was like, what's happening? Wow, what a race. Really enjoyed it. Obviously a big thank you to Adam and to Corey. Some really great fair racing throughout there, and they made the race so enjoyable, because of course if they weren't there it wouldn't have been, we probably would have just been driving by myself most likely. So you know, they made it a really enjoyable one there, and to be in a grid of such fantastic cars is really awesome as well. See Dom Shepherd, Audi Super Tourer there, one of the coolest cars you'll probably see in UK motorsport. Some things just mean a lot, and of course that was one of them. Been on this sort of weird journey of motorsport over the last year and a half, obviously getting this car. I suppose you can say since I was young and going to motorsport races, it's all sort of stemmed from there, and wanting to try this myself. Getting this car, all the things, you know, getting a trailer and all that time, you know, my parents having to deal with it and all the people that have helped me. Sometimes just like one race like that can just make it all feel worth it. And I realised that one race can't be, you know, the be all and end all of everything. Obviously, there's a lot more things you need to do to sort of make that worth it, really, at the end of the day. But in that moment right there, it just sort of felt like, oh, finally, I've done something right there in that race. I've battled with some great drivers, and it's kind of meant that whole process, the whole like 20 years of building up to maybe a moment like that, has actually been worth it in a way, because of course, I've said it a million times throughout these videos, motorsport isn't cheap. Getting to this point wasn't cheap, you know, a lot of saving, and so happy to, you know, see Christian there getting the thumbs up. It was just such a cool race. I was just so happy to be a part of it.
Nice one, mate.
Didn't think I had that in me.
That was amazing.
Wow, what a day. Sorry I haven't been sort of in front of the camera much today, but quite a lot's been going on. I just not have like problems with the car, but we've been trying to just get it sorted, so that sort of took up a lot of time. Christian did a fantastic job getting the car sort of pointing in the right direction, because after qualifying it was not in a good shape in terms of like the toe and some of the camber as well. It was not looking too good, but he did his magic, and we managed to get the car feeling a lot better for the race. It's still like not perfect, of course it's not, but definitely better. And then going into the race, you can probably see rain was predicted for 2 p.m. Our race was brought forward by 25 minutes, so I was kind of a bit happy, I guess, about that, because I was like, the chance of rain is a little bit lower right now, and you know, we're sitting here at, I don't know what, maybe 3:30, 4 p.m, and now the rain is properly starting to come down. So we missed it by like a decent amount. If we'd started the race at the normal time, we'd fine. But in terms of that race, I mean, crazy. You've seen the races so far that I've done on this channel. Quite a few of them have been by myself, not racing with many people. Last time out at Lydon was a step, you know, like an improvement. I was actually having a nice little battle with someone, got some overtakes in, and then today, that's by far the most fun and enjoyable race I've ever had in this car. And like in terms of lap time, okay, I wasn't as quick as I know I can be, but in terms of enjoyment, it was like off the scale. I mean, insane. I mean, I would have been happy if I finished third in that race. That's how good that race was. But what an incredible race there. Adam and Corey, thank you so much for the great battle. We saw Corey had a really big sideways moment, and fair play to him. He's in his first car race, so just an insane job by him. I'll be a million miles back in my first ever car race, as you saw. So he drove a fantastic race, and likewise Adam, both in their Clios, just doing a great job. I mean, I know I should be doing more in this car. I know this car naturally has a you know, performance advantage over their Clios, so testament to them. They drove some great laps, and at the end there they were catching, and I think maybe 1 or 2 more laps and they would have both got me. I think the checker flag came at the right time. I was praying for it to come out for a few laps in terms of getting to the finish, and then obviously getting the victory. But in terms of battles, you know, I wish we could have had that all day. But that was insane, and I learned a lot in that race. I learned a lot about myself and a lot about the car, and I guess you can say I'm the happiest I've been coming out of a race weekend. That was awesome, and great. Okay, it's good to have a class win, but great to have such an insane battle throughout. I couldn't be more happy, and I guess we missed the rain, which is kind of good, but at the same time I really want to drive this car in the wet, because I haven't so far, and I need that experience. Anyway, I'm rambling on. The car's fogging up because I'm getting excited. But awesome. I'm sure I'll do like a different outro, but we nearly skipped today after some events yesterday. I don't know whether I fully explained. There was some worries about getting here because of said weather, and we've already pulled out one race. I was thinking about just taking the loss on the second, but obviously thankful that we didn't, and thankful we're here. But thank you to everyone that made today possible. Dad, John, Christian, and all the people that have helped before that, Mum, and Mike and Sam and loads of other people. And obviously thank you to Adam. He was having a good battle with him, and obviously Corey as well. Both of them made today a really enjoyable event. Anyway, I've spoken long enough. Thank you to everyone that's watching, and
well, there's not much more for me to really say here. What a great day it was. As I mentioned just there, wasn't really sure whether we were going to make it like the day before. But it's very, very close. Like within minutes of sort of just cancelling the day and just saying, okay, we'll take the loss here. The weather's really not looking good. It's not worth the 4-hour journey there and the 4-hour journey back in one day, plus all the racing. That's obviously a big undertaking for just a small family team, I guess you'd call it. It's weird saying it like that, but I guess that's essentially what it is. But very cool for it all to sort of pay off at the end of the day. As I've already said a million times in this video, so much thanks to Corey and Adam for their great racing, and just really nice to chat to them in the paddock as well, their families, and that were just sort of saying like well done, and it's just a really great atmosphere. I mean, I realise at the end of the day that I should probably be doing a bit better in this Civic. I mean, ultimately the Clio, I think inherently is probably a slower car, so the fact that they were racing with me obviously shows they're doing better. But no, I appreciate their sort of kind words, and I just enjoyed spending my time around them. So I'm looking forward to sharing a paddock in the coming races. I skipped out on the 31st of May race at the end of this month of this video, because just the car, it wasn't in like the place I wanted it to be to go racing again. So a few little things I want to just sort of switch up, the rear brake calipers, and just getting the rear toe sorted, sort of like the main couple of things. But with work, I had very little 3 days between this race and the preceding race, so just wasn't the time there. And I'm not going to push myself and go crazy for it, so I'm glad that I skipped that one. I think Adam finished second in class in that race, so congratulations to him. I think there was another new driver in our class who won that race, Lewis, I think. So it was nice to see him out on track. I was actually there doing some filming, so it wasn't an issue about doing the journey. It was more about just the car being ready in a place where I was comfortable with it. So I look forward to seeing you in a video soon. This is quite a long closure to this video, but yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, because it's been a really cool journey up until this point, and to have a race like this so early on in this season was really awesome. And fingers crossed we'll have more of these as the season goes on. So thanks once again to everyone involved. Of course, we're naming the people that came here on the day. Of course, Adam and Corey and their families, nice to be around them. And also my dad, Christian, and also John, who's there filming. Just big thanks to them. And anyone that was watching on Castle Coombs TV that maybe recognised my car, that would be cool as well. Thank you guys, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Goodbye.